Good morning to you once again. Thank you so much for waking up to morning at NTV. Time for a Kickstarter. My name is Priscilla Regina Naluoga, and welcome aboard. You can stream with this conversation because it's going to be an intense looking at the aftermath of the Omoro by-election and what are the lessons learned moving forward. I am privileged to have a young, youthful panel for this discussion because we must figure out a way to shape Uganda forward with the young people. And we do have David Musiri, who's the head of institutions at the National Unity Platform Party. Good morning to you, David.
Good morning, Priscilla.
Welcome back from Omoro.
Wow, it wasn't that easy. It costed us so much as NUP. As we are talking now, we have casualties that are in hospitals in Zambia. We lost our dear ones, and we would want to stand in solidarity with those families that lost their dear ones. To our dear comrades, the freedom fighters, the foreign soldiers, we want to respect them and say, rest in peace.
Okay, all right. We are also joined by Maxon Muhezi, NRM Youth League. Good morning to you, Maxon.
Good morning, viewers. Good morning, Priscilla. I'm happy once again to have the opportunity to be hosted here.
In a nutshell, welcome back from Omoro.
Thank you.
How was it?
Just jubilating.
Jubilating.
Yeah.
Of course, we all know by now that Omoro County is now being led by Andrew Ojok Olana, son of the late Jacob Olana, is going to be taking on the remaining term. And so we want to first start with what happened in Omoro. We kept seeing it in bits from the landslide victory that was announced, but there was all these things that actually shaped up how the victory came through, especially for the different parties that participated. NRM, we did have FDC, we did have National Unity Platform, we did have the AT, and of course 2 candidates that were NRM leaning but independent. I'll start with you, David. From the National Unity Platform, how would you summarize the whole exercise of the by-election in Omoro County?
Yeah, Priscilla.
Positives and negatives.
Yes. One, Omoro by-election, the previous election that we have just gone through, it was full of impunity. I think this is self-explanatory to everyone, even on the panel here. I know, Priscilla, you know what happened exactly. In this country, it is only in this country that you can see our taxpayers' money being underutilized, and there was so much abuse and a lot of violence, I would say, a lot of manipulation in Omoro elections. But I want to, first of all, commend senior comrade, Torit, for standing with all those guards to stand and actually for the battle and the fight he put across. And also commend colleagues that came out, and also the locals, the local people of Omoro, who some of them, I want to assertively assert on this show that some of them actually boycotted the elections. And that's why we have a lot of, there was so much activities that were seen, a lot of things happening, army failing in voters who are not actually residents in Omoro. Surely, I think if you were following, there is a blog that actually wrote about a few people, around 4 casualties that got an accident as they were being ferried into the constituency. So I want to commend the colleagues that actually stood their feet. There is one of my role models that I look up to is Kimathi of Kenya, the one who led the Mau Mau rebellion. At one time said that he rather dies on his feet than living all his entire life on his knees. So I want to commend dearly to the people of Omoro, because I would want to give you some incidences whereby cars were seen in this country, in this LSO.com. How would we have UPDF vehicles, but in an election, but which has soldiers that are in layers, and which of them actually had covered themselves as the members, the so-called members. But also it went to an extreme that we could have these cars with their number plates covered. Now, in this country, actually, one of them, they violated the rights, the traffic rights. Where would you see, like Priscilla, you have a car, I know you have a car.
Isn't it above the law? So when it comes to traffic lights, that wouldn't be really something that we can talk about.
Yeah, but of course they had, that's why I want to build my argument that there was any intention, which was actually an evil intention. It was a devilish intention that maybe because it came up with a lot of other violations. We saw people being abducted.
We'll come back to the violations.
Yes.
Maxine, we get to have, David here saying that, first of all, when it comes to security, the deployment that we saw in a by-election was unnecessary to the extent that you're having the army involved in this by-election in Amoro County, which is, of course, the responsibility of the state. They don't act independently. There was an order that was given them to, come through in that deployment. What was a security threat in Omoro by-elections?
Thank you so much. Uganda is surrounded by, first of all, congratulations to my friend Ojok, the people of the NRM and the entire people of Omoro. This election continues to establish a fact that indeed NRM is strong and remains strong. The issue of security is, I told you, Uganda is surrounded by fragile situations. And therefore, I don't want to speak for UPDF, but as far as I'm concerned, we have security threats in Sudan, we have security threats in Congo, we have security threats everywhere. And so you cannot guarantee security 100%. In an election that is run by civilians, and you rule out the fact that security apparatus or agencies have to come and take over and understand, supervise, and also make sure the security of Ugandans is guaranteed, but also an election goes on very, very well, peacefully as we expect, because there is no law that stops security agencies from supervising and from monitoring, but also ensuring that the election or elections are free and fair. However, I want to say this. In the 4th and 5th centuries, the Greeks introduced a concept, a paradigm called democracy, Priscilla, that is split into two. That demo, which means the citizens or the people, then kratos, which means rule. Therefore, according to the Greeks, democracy means people's rule. It means if you don't have people, you don't win. You get what I'm saying? This paradigm has evolved over time to suit certain societies across the world. Mm-hmm. For Uganda's case, for Africa's case, in the 4th and 5th centuries, interest groups were not allowed to take part in elections or in elective politics in this particular democracy. But in Uganda's case, we can say, authoritatively speak, that we have the best democracy in the world. Authoritatively to say.
We have the best democracy in the world, but democracy costs the blood of Ugandans. People always are dying in these elections. People are always either losing their lives, their loved ones. They end up in hospitals, casualties, as David has stated.
I'll consider that. You see, there are basic elements and characteristics of democracy for it to thrive. You get, for democracy to thrive, there must be equal participation of political players and political parties. Equal participation. For democracy to thrive, there must be free speech. Just like my brother Musiri is here, free speech. For democracy to thrive, there must be the culture, listen to that, the culture of accepting election results, the culture of accepting. So for the case of NUP, I want to say thank you for participating. But in Omoro, where you don't have structures, Priscilla, remember I said democracy means...
who doesn't have structures? Who are you referring to?
There are no structure. Of course, NUP doesn't have structures.
For both your party and his party?
No, NUP doesn't have structure. It is very, very clear. The role of a political party is to form structures and aim at taking political power.
Okay.
If you don't aim at taking political power, then you're a pressure group. A political pressure group.
You don't have structures. This has always come up as a conversation in the elections that you have participated in, especially from the recent general elections. There was always that question: what are the structures of the National Unity Platform? So, David, you're in the hot seat. What actually are the structures of the National Unity Platform?
Actually, I want to let you know, Priscilla, that NUP has structures, and our candidate in that race was the best candidate. Priscilla, before we go on, we want to create clarity here on this table. We can't be here and start discussing on the NUP. This was Ugandan politics. One of the things that I appreciate for the time being that I've been in politics, that before these parties there is Uganda. And before Uganda there is, for us as NUP, there is people power.
Okay.
We have the coordination everywhere. I think he doesn't have the mandate actually to discuss NUP because, first of all, he does not represent NUP. One thing I know, he is not actually representing here. On this table, I would want to know, Priscilla, if you know what he stands for. Because this is a colleague of mine, we are from the same university. In Makerere University, he was an undercover, I know. And at sometimes he has a name of undercover, which is called Dixon. I don't want to go there because it will be for another day. But I want to, I just want to put this conversation to the public to know the people that are on this round table. Who are we? I am the head of institutions. Everyone knows that I became the head of institutions because of what I do and because the people appreciate me. The Ugandans appreciate. That means for that case, I would want to know if he actually knows for which position he stands for. We would leave that, if at all. That's
now this is going far away from the,
because
the
no, it's
aftermath
not,
that we're
it's
talking
because
about, David. Let me come back to you, Max.
Actually, he's poking.
You have talked about structures
that he doesn't understand. He's been at Makerere University
let me bring it back to you.
An undercover.
Maxon, you have talked about structures. What do you refer to as structures, especially in an electoral exercise as this, from your party's view?
Let me.
No, first give us the structures of your party's view.
Exactly. Yes. A political party has got what we call structures that are administrative, that are political, that are social, but also individual. That when you go, for instance, to the national resistance movement, it has what we call the cell, the village, the 30 people at the grassroots. Okay? We say 30 people of the national resistance movement across the country. It means any administrative unit of the country, any political unit of the country, and the social unit of the country, the NRM has got representation and leadership there, but also membership that is extraordinarily certified. You get what I'm saying? Therefore, any political party that does not have such, it stands huge chances of losing, and at the end of the day,
coming to you, David,
you see,
they've given you an example of structure.
That's where
so what are the structures that National Unity Platform actually applied in this by-election?
Before we go to the structures, I want to ask him, what process did they go through for them to come to, because that is what this, I am trying to tell you that we have structures. For us that have structures as NUP, we had a process. We had a process that had more than 3 candidates. Actually, we had 5 candidates.
We're not talking about the candidates, David. We're talking about how, as the party, you were able to actually solicit for people to come and stand behind your candidate. So what were those, tools, that you used?
Yes, we actually have the leadership. only that he wants always NRM, the state mafia, would want to know, would want us to unveil our people, and they buy them with handouts. They are good at dishing handouts. That is one thing that is actually puzzling them. It is very hard for them to know, and that is what they have always looked for. But we have the structures. I'm telling you, Priscilla,
so one of the structures you're saying you use
actually,
was the
NRM
head
does
of
not
your
have
party
structures.
to come for the
NRM does
by-election
not have
campaigns.
structures, because right here, let him come out to tell us that so and so is the chairman of maybe of the third on the village. They do not have them. We have them. Actually,
so are you saying
from
that you
our
also
structures,
have a 30-30, village structure?
Actually,
is that what you're saying?
I want to say this for the first time on this show, that we have more than 30. Ours is not 30. Mm-hmm. And actually, for us, we do not compete with NRM.
Okay.
Yes, ours is not 30. It's beyond 30. Mm-hmm. We are a very organized party as NUP. And I can tell you we are having sales happening, and that is why, because that is why I think it was overwhelming to them that they only started unleashing violence to our people, violence to our agents. All of the agents that we had, they were locals from that place, and these are members of our structures. We have the structures. It is better for us in such a dictatorial regime. It is better for us to work covertly.
Okay.
And we can't be here, because we can't be here to unleash out all our tactics that we use in an election.
Maxon,
this is what he comes as a semi person that I know.
You have talked about structures.
He wants to report to his bosses
in the
that this is what Musili said. Now this one,
you are supposed to be having primaries when such issues come up. When there's a gap that has, there's a place that is now being deemed vacant, there is a primaries that is supposed to be gone through. That's a structure in the NRM. However, this was put aside, of course, in respect of the dead, but then again, doesn't that kill the whole structure that has been set up by the ruling party?
The beauty, one of the beauty concepts of the national resistance movement is that we follow what we call revolutionary methods of work when it comes to politics. An election doesn't mean, or feeding a candidate doesn't necessarily mean primaries. One of the best tactics that the NRM finds fit is engagement before primaries, which is extraordinarily easier and actually cheap. That you will first engage, understand, scrutinize, and weigh the candidates, put them under engagement process. If they accept, we forego the primaries, which was extraordinarily done, very well, very peaceful.
The repercussions of that is that you did have NRM guys coming through as independents, because they were grievant about how you handled that. Let him finish.
The issue is very simple, that there is no law in this country. Like I said, we have participatory democracy, the best democracy around. There is no law that stops any Ugandan from contesting. However, those who subscribe to real values and the values and principles of the party and the discipline, it is better they are subjected to revolutionary methods of work, like I said, engagement. And if the party members agree that this is our candidate, we go with that. However, that does not stop anyone from contesting, and actually that doesn't mean that someone has become a member of the national resistance movement. You get what I'm saying? So engagement is the best way, and we have seen it work across the country, and it is one of the reasons we have majority positions. I don't want to believe that 83% of the honorable member of parliament elect, honorable Joke, now is a joke to Ugandans. 83% you cannot say that 83% that was birthed by engagement is really an underscore.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, we definitely, for now, one of the assessments that we have looked at is the structures that were applied in this Omoro by-election for the National Resistance Movement. Of course, with a unison vote, they decided to go with the candidate because of the pedigree of the person that was being replaced.
Priscilla,
for the National Unity
can I say
platform,
something?
when it comes to structures, David here has assured us that they apply something similar to what NRM has.
We need to know.
However, it's just different numbers.
Not even
and,
similar. He has just asserted it here that they operate in a way of a revolution. I don't know whether we are not past that.
Yes.
We are not past that. I would believe and I would commend. You know, sometimes, Priscilla, it is so saddening to see a colleague like him trying to defend impunity. Sure, he's trying to defend what is not right. This is a statement that I would want him to actually, if it is not true, he would come out here and bash me off. But this is, he knows that there was an impunity going on. There was no organization. There was no consultation. It was not even voting, but it was a payback to the family. One of the things, and it is very risky, because the death of Olanya, the Right Honorable Speaker, the death of Olanya still had questions. And this is what the locals were posing. And for us to have a young man like Andrew, surely we should have an honest conversation around how was it a handout to the family?
Well, you see,
because the repressing
is not in relation with the
Priscilla, I know
we cannot raise
it's not in relation, but there is a man that some of us, surely for us who have the background, I know maybe you have a background of Makerere University, we know what Olanya meant to Ugandans. Even via the age limit, we know why he was not the person in that seat of the right.
Peace, David. Let's talk about
getting a stronger person and
David, let's talk about democracy. It's been, broken down. The democracy is really people and their role. And you are people who have a slogan, people power. Yes. But that power did not come out to reflect in the numbers. 14,222 for the person who got to win the by-election. The difference between that is a whole 13,000 of voters that were not convinced that they had the power through your slogan, people power, our power. So what happened in terms of you selling what your vision and your mission is as a political party?
As I was commencing, Priscilla, I told you that I want to commend the people of Omoro. Most of them, actually the majority, boycotted that election. It is on record that the people that voted were not residents of the constituency.
And do you have proof of what you are saying?
Yes, I told you there is
Can
even
you
a
share
blog.
with us some proof?
Yes, I have, Priscilla. I am not here I have not come to a national TV like this that we respect, and NTV to just lie to the public. We have evidence. We have evidence here.
As he brings evidence.
Priscilla, I think you can read that, and they are also.
This is blogging, my friend.
Not blogging.
His evidence is titled 4 critically injured after falling off army truck ferrying voters in Omoro.
My brother, maybe
it goes back to you answering the question.
I am still actually telling you, Priscilla, that one of the unseen kind of scenario that we had in Omoro is seeing people come up, returning, because according to the results, according to the records that they have, that every voter turned up on that election. Priscilla, I would want to pose a question to you. Is there any scenario ever that we can have a polling station that can turn?
You have wrong facts. The facts are wrong. Your facts are wrong.
Let him finish.
I think my colleague here does not even know the statistics of that constituency.
Back to the polling station and every...
I want to tell you that they have records that all the people, just like it has always been, even the previous election that we had when we went to the polls of the presidential elections, there are some polling stations that had 100% turn up of the voters, that no one fell sick. No one was pregnant, and maybe somehow, maybe they had some other whatever problems. No one died in those polling stations. This is what the tyrannies are good at.
You are talking about the fact that we had a re-registration by the Electoral Commission that had a register that had up to the tune of 38,000 people. Everyone never gets to vote. That's the realistic matter when it comes to a general election. Priscilla, any election, not everyone comes out to vote. However,
I wanted to know
David, to explain to us how it is that you could not convince another 12,000 to actually competitively come through in terms of the statistics that came out at the end of the day, the numbers.
I wanted to let you know. Does that
mean that people of Omoro have not yet bought
at one time,
into your ideology?
At one time on the day of polls, the chairman EC was persuaded to make a communication. I do not know if you had that communication well, when he was saying that forgive us of what has happened, the people that have been abducted. Actually, I want to let you know that, Priscilla, there was a lot of intimidation, one of which would scare off people. It is just common sense that we get to know that. We had senior citizens of Uganda in this country, one of which is a member of parliament, David Karwanga, that was arrested and was brutally arrested by men in civilian. We had senior citizens, and actually with their, I would think they would be handled with courtesy. For example, the leader of opposition was on the scene.
So David, all that you're submitting is explaining how you are not able to actually convince another 12,000 people in Omoro district.
Why would someone convince? We do not need to convince people, because I wanted to tell you that this was not an NUP election. One of the things that we should all of us understand and appreciate, that when we have a member of parliament of Omoro, does not serve only the interests of NUP, but serves the interests of the people of Omoro. Now, when we draw it back and start discussing NUP alone, I am telling you, we are in the scenario that people went on the polls and people were scared of, were intimidated. Some of them are still languishing in the behind bars. Most of our people are in cells. These they would be voters. They were arrested on their way to come to vote. When I told you that most of the people boycotted this election, I am not lying here. I am telling you, most of the people that voted in Omoro were got from Kampala, some were got from other districts. Some were not even actually Ugandans that voted. We have evidence about that.
Okay.
So for you to say that, we never convinced. We had all the people, because what shows that we convinced people? Look at our rallies. When His Excellency Robert Sentamu Kyagulanyi went to Omoro, and compare it to when the dictator went to Omoro. Compare those processions.
Okay.
You get
because it is not about. It is not about. It is not about. It's a tyranny. For sure.
Mr. Musiri is the chairperson for the NRM. So,
he's not a chairperson for NRM. Let him actually, before you go there, because you are actually giving him false. You are appreciating him for entirely nothing.
Mr. Musiri, you have taken 30 minutes. I hope I'm given 32.
And you are not the moderator of this show. She is.
I'm just reminding
you want
David,
to
allow him
dictate
to respond.
the show.
A dictator that has managed the society for more than 35 years must be a very good one. I want to say we cannot reduce this important show, international show, to wrong facts just for the sake of talking. 38,000 certified voters in Omoro. 17,000 participated, and 14,000 voted Ojok. So you cannot say that the returning officer, Moses, Mr. Moses, that communicated these facts that actually tally with the 6 candidates in elections are reduced to what you're saying, that the Electoral Commission declared that almost everyone voted. now you're trying to say that 38,000 people voted according to the statistics, which is extraordinarily wrong.
Well,
so it is not good to come here and speak with actually, they say no facts, no right to speak.
Okay.
You
So
get?
Maxon,
I
you
also
do have
want
a
to say,
fact.
I also want to say that NUP preaches water and takes wine. It tells people to take water when it is taking. They were talking of the youth. They always talk about youth. I expected David Musiri to go and actually campaign for a joke since he's advancing the youth agenda. I don't know where they got it. You get? They actually covered under that shell. They don't want to discuss that. So the state of confusion, now Ugandans are waking up.
Okay.
They no longer want to hear
The fact
confusion.
is that the Electoral Commission
Good.
did declare Andrew Ojok as the winner of that by-election, and he's now the representative in Parliament for Omoro County. What were the lessons that you pick out as NRM?
Well, the lessons, around 6 lessons. One, strength is in structures and in mobilization. Number 2, the message. The message you give to people is very, very, very important. And one of the strongest components and pillars of the NRM is the message we have always given to people. This message is out of distillation of society prerequisites. That society is a patient. Running a society is like a patient, treating a patient. You first diagnose and understand what the patient is suffering from. Then you prescribe. Therefore, the NRM has mastered the art and science of understanding the prerequisites, the problems and challenges facing societies across the country. It therefore comes with distilled answers and responses that it sells to people, and it explains 83% that took place in Omoro. Therefore, the point of the message is very, very, very important. But also the issue of structures, like I said. When you look at youth structures, from top to bottom, from village up to parliament, NRM has 90-something%. When you talk of the women, 70-something%. When you talk of parliament, you know the percentage. When you talk of all interest groups, you know how many people are within the NRM. This is the structure we are talking about. You get what I'm saying? But also participation. Let everyone participate. Because Comrade Musiri is saying that people were ferried. I understand Musiri stays in Kampala. So had he gone to Omoro also to vote? If you say people were ferried from Kampala and other parts of the country to go and vote in Omoro, for you also, had you gone to vote? Absolutely not. So it is always important that if you're weak, you accept that we are weak. We have taken some lessons. We are actually, the birth of People Power and NUP is because of a free and fair by-election here in Chadon. Isn't it? We see Mr. Chaguranyi rising to the occasion because of a by-election. So if you say that elections are free and fair, are not free and fair in the country, how come the Honorable Chaguranyi won? How come we have members of parliament of People Power and other leaders across the country that belong to the People Power? Are you saying the state machinery, intimidation and money was not there? You get, just accept here on TV that NUP is weak. You have a big and Herculean task to go and rebuild and learn from the NRM. Then you can take power.
David,
but also
lastly,
if I want to state, I'm a student of political science. I want to state that if the party is not aiming at capturing political power or government, it is a pressure group. So I saw the NUP tweeting that their objective was actually not to win an election. It means they had other objectives. If therefore the objective, tell to Ugandans that for us, our aim is actually not to win government or even to take power. We have other interests. Maybe selfish interests, family interests, maybe you want to fulfill
David, what's the intention of National Unity Platform where we stand today? Is it to take power?
Yeah, of course, I think a colleague here is using sabotage and intrigue from there, because even when he wants to defend the youthhood kind of innovativeness, it is not about between Torit and Andrew. It is not about who is a youth. And actually, Priscilla, NUP is not full of youths. I would want to let you know that the Vice President, North, Dr. Zedriga, is above 50. We have elders in the party. So he's lying to the people of the Republic of Uganda on a national TV, because that was actually not the gist why we had Torit over maybe Andrew. It is about who is on the side of the oppressed and on the side of the oppressor. Andrew chose to be with the tyranny, and Torit chose to be with the oppressed. As simple as that. It's not a question of who is a youth, who is an elderly. So therefore, our objective, number one, is to take over this country and give it a direction. He is laughing here, but that's why it is saddening to see people of our age defending impunity. Because I want to let you know, you said you were a student of political, you were a student of politics. I want to let you know that even when Obote saw Museveni coming, he used to say, those bandits. I think you heard of that, such statements. One of the things that for us, we are sure that we are taking over, and it's not about actually exposing the dictator alone. This has to be done step by step. We went to Kayunga by-election. You saw what was there.
David, allow us to take a short commercial break. We're going to start from the step-by-step that you were talking about in reference to the National Unity Platform and what your mandate is to liberate the oppressed. We do take a short commercial break, but we do continue with the aftermath of the by-elections. Do stay with us.
You didn't start with Kai.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
With me is David Musiri, who is the head for institutions at the National Unity Platform, and Maxon Muhwezi, who's the NRM Youth League. Now we get to continue with these conversations. My name is Priscilla Regina Nalwaga. Of course, one of the things that we have talked about is the structures. What are the lessons that we learn, the application of structures. We have also looked at the violence and the security state of the Omoro by-election, and how different people and these different gentlemen here get to perceive it from the different representations, but also from your end. Hashtag Morning at NTV. If you do have your 2 cents on this conversation, please feel free to type it on our Twitter handle, NTV Uganda, and we'll be able to engage with it later on. I see some respondents here. OMG, the Noop guy is hands down. There's educated and informed. He's educated and informed. Then they're talking about Muhwezi making a better argument, and some referring to goons, things like that. Anyway, we are really just here to bring to light, some of the things. So we were with you, David, and you were talking about, there was the question of National Unity Platform. Are you here to take power? And you were referring to it, that you are here to liberate those that are oppressed. And you were taking us through the steps that you are going to actually adopt as a party in order to get to that vision. Yes.
Priscilla, on last week, I had an opportunity to attend African Liberation Day in Kenya. And one of the themes that we were discussing, it was about so much of the elections in Africa. And we learned a lot of things, one of which was to appreciate that Africans they are no longer Pan-Africanists, and we do not actually have love for Africa. Because surely, when you go oversight, when a Chinese is corrupt, he's hanged, and when an American is corrupt, is thrown to jail. But in Africa, when an African is corrupt, like his father, he knows, he's appreciated and elevated. If he has been an MP to a ministerial position. However, we have to learn a few steps, and some of these things also show that we are about to achieve the goal. I would want to let you know that as NUP, we learn a lot of lessons in this by-election, one of which we would do look at precedents that happen elsewhere. For us to have lost in as they claim that we lost, for us to have lost in Omoro, one of the things that comes to my mind is that we have tyrannies that also won elections 100%. For instance, in 2002, we remember Saddam Hussein, who won. Actually, it was a referendum. He won at 100%. After just 6 months, he was overthrown by a popular protest in Iraq. Here at when we look at the neighborhood here in Sudan, you remember when Omar Bashir won an election of 94.5, I think, as a student of politics, you understand that. But after a while, you saw what happened. A lady in the names of Alala Saleh rose with the population of Sudan, and today is no more. Now, but these are people that, for instance, for that precedent that they set in Sudan, for him to have gotten 94.5, he even had to throw out the Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament of that country, was thrown out, and even the big parties of what he calls democracy boycotted an election. But what tyrannies always do is to plant their own candidates, and that is all what they do always. And at the end of the day, I think the one who was actually the first run-up only got around 2%, got around, yes, 2% of that vote. Therefore, we learn a lot of things because we look up to other people, and that is what brings hope every day. That this is a journey we have started, and we are not quitting anytime. We have to take over this country and give a direction to this country. We only urge the young people like him, like Muhwezi, Dixon, Maxon. We want to urge the MP-elect also to join the struggle. Because at this material moment, at that time, he knows the history of Uganda. We have read the preamble of the Constitution of Uganda. And we have read, and the so-called historicals have explained it to our eyes, that at this time around, I have ever seen him putting on an army uniform at a hall of residence called Micho. We are both from Makerere University. And I believe at this time we would be castigating the dictator. We would be castigating the impunity. This is our time to play our role as a generation, to take up this country. It was at this time that the so-called historicals started. It is our age. We would now be on this. We would rally behind.
So speaking of the generation
the oppressed, actually.
It
is not about
David,
Ojok.
if you were Andrew Ojok, or
Yes.
if you were in his shoes, would you be celebrating today?
No, I wouldn't be
Why?
celebrating. When my father, you see, I lost my father during Fees Must Fall. He was part. I don't know whether he was doing his role of undercover, but he was part. But I am telling you, due to the brutal arrest in Chikone, when my father, who had pressure, saw it collapsed and died. When the state reached me out to give me 1 billion, and when the state reached me out because I was medically not proper, they wanted to fly me out and also give me sponsorship to go and study instead abroad. I told them no one can pay the price of my father. Even up to now, I'm still castigating this government, because we do not need to be bought by just handouts. We do not just come to this television because we have been given these few opportunities that that some of these colleagues have gotten. For me, as if I was Andrew, I would first of all castigate this government. Why did my father die? When my grandfather says an elderly person comes out on that function and says, my son told me he was poisoned.
See, why would you be using a political seat to then put out your personal sentiments or grievances that you have against the ruling party or the government, for that matter?
Because there is no any other front.
Because you're here to represent the people of Omoro. Because if you're in Andrew Ojok's shoes, we are taking you to be the winner now, and the expectation from the people of Omoro is not to inquire into your father's death, but to find a resolution that is going to bring prosperity, that's going to bring peace, that is going to bring security, that is going to bring productivity, that is going to improve the the economy of that place.
And Priscilla, the reason why we have had prevail of these same cases is because people do not hang in there for a while to first investigate. That is the reason why we could have an assassination at a certain time. Before that report comes out, we have another assassination. You see, I have tried to learn how Ugandans behave. They are always taken over by emotions. Sometimes diversions blow off people off the line. You have seen this. I remember when we were so much interested in the attempted assassination of General Katumba Wamala, and at one time a woman comes up and says of Chidawarime, that Chidawarime told me, you write down, I do like that. Now people started posting that they were diverted from the real point. But okay, this is what I'm telling you, Priscilla. For me, first of all, the nature of this by-election that we are discussing now, did you know that that by-election was, their campaigns were run in only 10 days? 10. It has never happened. For you to run a campaign, it was only 10 days. Why short like that? And why
how many days did you want it to be?
No, it would be 2 months.
Why would it be?
It would even be 1 month. Because let me tell you, I am a head of institutions. We carry out, and he knows, we have elections in universities. Just imagine, just around Makerere University, it takes 2 weeks.
If the results were to stay the same, then what would be the way forward?
Without structure.
No, we cannot be here and start appreciating what was done wrongly, because this election was null and void. So and I would think we had time to prepare. That's the question, that because what is very different between me and him,
David,
I was on ground and I have sentiments from the locals.
From the time that Electoral Commission declared that seat vacant. That was preparation time up to through the nominations into the campaign and then the official election that happened. Away from that, you are still telling us that if you are in Andrew Ojok's shoes right now, one, you'd want to avenge your father's death. What would be the second thing?
Yeah, of course. The second thing to me to be self-explanatory, I would be on the side of the oppressed, because who knows that maybe me, Andrew Ojok, I might be the next, or my neighbor here. So for me, it trickles my understanding so much. All right.
You have mentioned a very profound point in there, that Andrew Ojok is a young man, and so he's representing the future. Earlier on, of course, Muhwezi was referring to it as revolutionary leaders. Muhwezi, we do have the revolutionary leaders. So how do we move from revolution to evolution, and especially in aiding and equipping the young people to move democracy forward?
Yeah, of course, Uganda has evolved and is evolving. But I want to refresh my brother Msiri's mind that when he mentions of Saddam, the late Saddam Hussein and Omar Bashir, that they won elections, then in the next month they were overthrown. Well, that is okay, but we have had elections. This government has held elections, has organized the elections since 1996. So it is not the first time NRM is winning an election, or even NRM is managing success. Actually, for your information, we are 1 year since the president took oath in this regime. So usually these are points that are given to people.
So does this by-election indicate a transition in the NRM?
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to say that I mentioned in the beginning that the young people in Uganda for the first time participate at each and every level of administration, of the social organization and political organization. That is the transition we are talking about. At the village level, you find the young people. At the sub-county, parish, at the district parliament, where you find, and these people participate actually. In fact, that is what the NRM fought for. Participatory democracy, each and everybody to go and participate. Like I'm saying, if my brother Msiri and his team are grieved, they are not happy and they are not, the only solution is to go and explain to people of Uganda.
Okay.
And you say, ladies and gentlemen, oh fellow Ugandans, this is not right. Therefore, we request that you support us. So that is the only solution.
Well,
but also,
thank you so much, gentlemen.
but
Our time is fast spent.
Can I say, also, the ultimate solution as well is to offer yourself. You get that if you feel something is not right and not proper in your society, and you think you have the best distilled solutions, please offer yourself and convince Ugandans.
The
Our
one
role
thing
is
that
to
we
support
all
you.
agree upon here on this roundtable is that the future is bright if we do have young people like David Musiri, who's the head of institutions. And if you do have Mwezi Maxon here, I've also learned another name.